Welcome everyone, this is Kerjims channel. Now we are back to our new episodes of 2 semi-reality champions and comparison featured by Reveled, League of Legend versus the Mobile Legend Bang Bang. But before that, please like and subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the bell icon. You will be notified to our new next episode video. Let's do this!
Victor was born in Zone, on the borders of the Entersoul level. With his parents being inventors, it was very easy for them to ignite the passion for invention and building within him. He devoted every minute to his studies. He would hate to interrupt his work even to eat or sleep. Even during the usual camp spills, accidental detonations, or incoming camp clouds, Victor was ready to quickly relocate if needed. Abandoning his work, even for a short time, was a nightmare to Victor. Because these accidents were quite common, Victor had the chance to study them, and upon closer inspection he realized that almost all of them were the result of human error, not a mechanical failure. He offered his services to the local businesses, developing inventions that would make them far safer working environments. Most turned him away, but once, the Fredersen Kempfort agreed to try it out. Victor's inventions in automation reduced the number of accidents in the forge to 0 within a month, and soon his work spread and became common in Zone, improving production with every innovation that removed human error from a process. Eventually, at the age of 19, he was surprised to be offered a place in Zone's prestigious Academy of Techmaturgy. But Victor's work had attracted the eye of Professor Stanwyck of Piltover, who convinced him to leave Zone and travel to Piltover's academy instead. There he could work in the most advanced laboratories and gain access to all resources he needed. Victor accepted the offer, moved up to Piltover, and began upgrading his inventions so they could benefit everyone. He worked with Piltover's best and brightest, including the insufferable genius called Jace. The two met in intellect, but where Victor was methodical, logical, and true, Jace was flamboyant and arrogant. They worked together frequently, but they never truly became friends. They would often argue over their perceptions of intuition against logic, but a level of respect held them back as they both saw the flawed brilliance in the other. One day, Victor's work was interrupted by a major camp spill that devastated entire districts of Zone. He immediately left Piltover and returned to Zone to help those in need. Victor crafted a complicated series of cognitive loops and installed them onto an existing robot. This is how he created a custom-built golem, Blitzcrank, to help him with the cleanup. Blitzcrank was instrumental in saving countless lives and appeared to develop a level of tension beyond anything Victor imagined. Even with the spill contained, Victor stayed in Zone and helped those afflicted by the toxins. With the golem's help, he tried to use his techmaturgical talents to save those whose lives have been blighted by the spill. Their attempt was ultimately unsuccessful in preventing more deaths, and the two separated. Though all the deaths in Zone worried Victor, these events taught him a lot about merging of human anatomy with technology. When Victor returned to Piltover weeks later, he found out that Professor Stanwyck presented Blitzcrank to the Academy as his own. Victor filed formal complaints with the masters of the college, but no one listened, even with all the proofs that Blitzcrank was his design. He turned to Jace to verify his claims, but he refused to speak up, further widening the rift between them. In the end, the matter was decided in Professor Stanwyck's favor. Bitter but resigned, Victor returns to his studies knowing that his ultimate goal of making people's lives better and enhancing humanity was more important than one stolen project and a bruised ego. He continued his work and found more ways to eliminate human error. Over time, this became the theme in all of his future inventions. He saw human involvement in any part of a process as a grossly inefficient aberration, a view that put him at odds with many of his fellow students and professors. They saw Victor's work as an attempt to remove the source of human ingenuity and creativity. One day, Victor collaborated with Jace and worked on an improvement for a diving suit. The dock workers used these suits to keep Piltover's docks clear of underwater debris and lingering chemical waste. Victor and Jace's enhanced suit allowed the workers to go deeper, remain underwater for longer, and lift heavier weights. But many of them swore they saw phantom corpse slides in the depths, or suffered from chem-inducted hallucinations. When divers experienced these symptoms, they panicked and often killed either themselves or their fellow workers. Victor had a solution to this problem. He created a helm that allowed an operator on the surface to bypass the wearer's fear and effectively control the diver. A heated discussion between Victor and Jace on free will and mental enslavement erupted. It looked like they were going to fight over it, but in the end, they vowed never to work together again. Jace reported the incident to the college master, and Victor was censored for violating basic human dignity. Though in his eyes, his work would have saved many lives. He was expelled from the college and he retreated back to his old laboratory in Zone, disgusted by the narrow-minded perceptions of Piltovans. Alone in the depths, Victor sank into a deep depression, enduring a traumatic period of introspection for many weeks. He wrestled with the ethical dilemma he now faced, finding that, once again, human emotion and weakness had stood in his way. He had been trying to help others, to enhance people beyond their natural capabilities, to avoid error and save lives. Revelation came when he realized that he too had succumbed to such emotions. Victor knew he could not expect others to follow where he did not go first. So in secret, he operated on himself to remove parts of flesh that relied upon or were inhabited by emotion. When the surgery was done, almost no trace of the young man who traveled to Piltover remained. Majority of his anatomy was now augmented, and his personality changed too. His hope for better society was refined into an obsession with what he called glorious evolution. Victor now saw himself as the herald of Valorant's greater future, a dream where man would sacrifice flesh in exchange for superior augments. This would free humanity from fatal errors and suffering, though Victor knew it would take time. He got back to work with fresh inspiration. He used his augments to rebuild Zonites injured in accidents, perfected breathing mechanisms, and worked tirelessly to reduce human inefficiency by decoupling physicality from emotion. His work saved hundreds of lives, yet seeking Victor's help could be dangerous. Sometimes there were unexpected consequences, but if you were desperate, Victor was the man you went to. Some in Zone, hearing fragments of his philosophy and seeing the success of his work, saw him as a messianic figure. Victor couldn't care less for them, viewing their religious cult as an aberration. It was exactly what he worked to eliminate: emotional bounds to something that couldn't be proven. After a toxic event in the Sum saw hundreds of men and women in the factory woods transform into psychotics, Victor was forced to use a powerful sedative to calm the victims and bring them back to his labs to try and undo the damage. The toxins had begun to eat away portions of their brains, but Victor was able to slow the degenerative process by opening up their skulls and employing machinery to slowly filter their bloodstream of poison. But the technology available to him wasn't good enough, and Victor knew many would die unless he found a way to greatly enhance the machinery. As he fought to save those people, he detected a surge of hextech energy from Piltover, and he saw immediately that this could give him the power he needed. He followed the powerful energy surge to its source, Jace's lab. Victor demanded Jace to hand over the source of power, a oozing Shuriman crystal, but his former colleague refused, leaving Victor with no option but to take it by force. He returned to Zone and hooked the crystal to his machinery, readying a steam of golem hosts for each afflicted person in case their body gave out under the stress of the procedure. Empowered by the new crystal, Victor's machines went to work, and gradually the damage from the toxin began to reverse. His work would save these people, and had Victor retained more than a fragment of his humanity, he might have celebrated. As it was, all he allowed himself was a hint of a smile. Before the process could complete, Jace burst in and started smashing the laboratory with his energized hammer. Knowing an arrogant fool like Jace would not listen to reason, Victor ordered his robots to kill him. The battle was ferocious and only ended when Jace shattered the crystal Victor had taken, bringing the entire warehouse down in an avalanche of steel and stone, killing those Victor was trying to save. And for this, Jace returns to Piltover, not as a murderer or a criminal, but as a hero. Victor escaped the distraction of the laboratory and returned to his mission of improving humanity by ridding it of its destructive emotional impulses. In Victor's mind, Jace's blind attack only proved his point. Victor did send chem-augmented thugs to raid Jace's laboratory. This was, at least Victor told himself, not for revenge, but to learn if there were any more shards of the Shuriman crystal. The raid was unsuccessful, however, and Victor thought no more of Jace. Instead, he focused his efforts on finding a way to push humans into the next evolutionary stage. Sometimes his research is viewed as unethical in both Piltover and Zone, but it is necessary to bring about Victor's glorious evolution. Victor decided to make one of the houses in the Ember Flint Alley his new home. It was shrouded by fog and hardly anyone ventured here. This is why he chose this place. He preferred not to be interrupted. He was just operating on himself. His third hand fired a thin ray of light that welded metal into his left arm. The smell of burning flesh no longer bothered him, nor did the sight of his left wrist splayed open. Veins and muscles fused with his augments. He did not wince. Instead, he felt a sense of achievement gazing at the seamless blend of synthetic and organic materials. The sound of children shouting outside gave Victor a pause. Keeping his left arm immobile, Victor adjusted a silver dial on his iridoscope. The device contained a series of mirrored lenses that angled lights to allow him full view of the streets outside his laboratory. Several children were violently shoving a boy towards Victor's iron gate. "I doubt Nak will last a minute in there," said a girl with imitation gemstones embedded above her eyes. "I bet he comes with a bad head," said a boy with a shock of red hair. "Maybe then his brain won't be dull as gray. You better return with something we can sell, or we'll be the ones giving you a new head," said the largest one, grabbing the small boy by the neck and forcing him forward. The other children backed away, watching. The young boy trembled as he approached the towering gate, which squeaked as he pushed it open.